So let's talk about positioning yourself as the expert, the influencer, the go-to person with the media. Being seen as the expert literally will skyrocket your business because the media are saying, this is our expert, you are trusted. We are finding you as the trusted source of information. So that means the people that are reading it are going to trust you straight away. So by positioning yourself as the expert, that gives you that opportunity to get featured with the media. But how do you position yourself as an expert? Well, first, let's cover off just this question to establish, are you an expert or kind of thought leader in your industry? Let me share this with you. Hold on. So if I met you at a networking event or one of our live events and I asked you what you did, and I was actually genuinely intrigued, and I said, oh, tell me more, I'm hoping you'd be able to tell me about your business. I'm hoping you'd be able to answer the questions about your business. So really, that's where I'm getting to with this. Because look at this, a definition of an expert, a person who has a comprehensive and authoritative knowledge of or a skill in a particular area. That is you. Now, it's got to be you because the difference is you've got to say and be proud and own the fact that you're an expert in your field so that you can share your knowledge to the media. As I say, because it opens doors, it really kind of puts you on a whole different level with people. And there's so many benefits to positioning yourself as the expert. So I got featured as the expert as a franchising expert because my business at the time was a franchisee, as women in business, as a mumpreneur. That's how I position myself as an expert. Now I'm a PR expert. I'm known as the media matchmaker. So, think about what you are an expert in and start telling the world. We already covered it in one of the other sessions on your LinkedIn. You should have what you do as an industry within your title and even put influencer or expert. I know we're a little bit British about this and we don't want to toot our own horn. However, if you're genuinely helping people, why would you not want to tell the world about what you do? And something I've shared before is the job of the journalist is to interview you. Your job is to be the great source of information. So journalists aren't out to catch you out. They need you as much as you would love to work with them. As we said, they've got to fill their radio show. They've got to get their comment for that news story that's trending. They've got to talk about this topical because it's trending now. So why would they not talk to you about it? And sometimes I bet if you just Google or use your AI, whatever tool you use, or even go to LinkedIn and type in the industry expert, beauty expert, or manufacturing expert, see who pops up. Have a look at their websites. Do they have a press page? We've talked about this before, and you can go into the Media Matchmaker Club and you can access all about how to set your press page up. So create yourself a press page or on your about section to show that you are an expert. These are the topics that you can talk about. And this is where you've been interviewed. So if you haven't been interviewed yet, or you've got no PR, that's absolutely fine. You are still an expert in what you talk about. And the only difference between you and your competitor is that they are putting themselves out and they're connecting to the right type of journalists. We send out intro emails to journalists. And again, I've got an email to show you how we do this through the media database. And it simply says, hi, I'm an expert in XYZ. Wanted to connect with you. These are the topics I can talk about. Are there any stories or articles that I can help you with? What is great as well is if there's a trending news story, that's where you want to be pitching yourself in to say, in light of today's trending news story, I'm available for comments. So you've got to believe that you are the expert in what you do. Now, some of the things you might want to think about is potentially also having a fame name. What's the fame name? Well, it's a bit like, you're probably too young. The Teflon ad, is it Teflon? No, is it? No, Ronseal does exactly what it says on the tin. So you've got to have a fame name that tells people what you do. So we know, if I say Martin Lewis to you, you're probably going to know who that is, the money saving expert. If I say Rachel Taplin, hopefully you'll think of the media matchmaker. That's my fame name. So what have you got a fame name? And maybe you want to be known as and have, because sometimes if let's say you were going to be interviewed on radio and I interviewed a radio presenter from Radio 2 about this, and she works with the producers as well. And she talked about how you can do an intro and an outro for the journalists and the producers, because they know how to introduce you and they know how to say where people can find you. So ultimately, if you've got a difficult name, for example, not everyone's going to remember Taplin, but they will remember Media Matchmaker. They want to be able to Google you, so if you can find a fame name that you can use, and if you haven't registered already, perhaps register the URL, but certainly start signing yourself off as your fame name. So I'm just trying to, it might just be the beauty expert for businesses, brands and entrepreneurs, and whatever you do, think about it. It might be Simon Calder, is it? He's the travel expert. So let's think about if there's any fame name. So think about if there's a fame name that you can use so that the journalists can introduce you, but people more can remember you. The best thing you can do is research it with your AI tools or with Google and put in your competitors, as I said, see what they're known for, beauty expert, manufacturing expert, and see what pops up and see how they're positioning themselves. And then outreach to the journalist to say, this is what you do. I'm available for comment. Can I help you? Now, there'll be some tips and tricks that will show you how you can action and put yourself as an expert on the Media Matchmaker platform so your profile shines and you shine as the expert in your field. Let me just end with sharing this with you. I wrote, because I want to show you how the journalists see it from their point of view. I sent in an email to BBC Breakfast. This is what I asked them. How do you find your experts? And they said a range of sources. We meet people at events, have trusted PRs, and some of them contact us directly. Which could be you. You could connect with them to say, this is what you talk about. What do you look for in an expert? We look for plain speaking. Can they get a complex story across easily? Availability will be able to join us on location or in a studio, and impartial. We don't want anyone on air plugging their business. That's fair enough for the BBC. So as we keep saying, and keep this in your head, your job is to be the great source of information. The job of the journalist is to introduce you. We also asked, do you keep your contacts to use again in the future or for future articles? They said a lot of the time we keep contacts if they do well on air, and occasionally we might follow up a story. Now, I know this is true because I've seen it happen quite a few times. So they'll get to know you, and let's say you're going to the BBC, you'll speak to the producer, and you'll start talking to them about something else. They will often follow up that story because, again, they need content. So therefore, you can go back and get featured. You might be doing an article once a month. So, for example, we had a real case study. One of our members got featured on the BBC, and he was doing a charity event and he was a personal trainer. He then shared his story about how he grew his personal training business. I think it was just before lockdown, actually. And then they wanted to feature him on the local BBC Inside Out show. He got featured on the Inside Out show, and then he went on to, I think he was in some national glossy magazines as well. He went on to do absolutely loads of PR because PR really does have a snowball effect. We had another member, she positioned herself as the relationship expert. She got featured in The Times, she got a double page spread. And because of that, she also then got featured in The Independent. So this stuff really does work. Getting back to this, we said, do you share contacts? Yes, both with Breakfast and other businesses' news teams with the BBC. Now, again, I know this for a fact. As I've said before, I'm from the West Midlands, so BBC WM is my station. And as a result of being featured on WM many, many times, my contact was then shared for BBC Radio 2, and I was asked to be a franchise expert with, I think it was Anne Diamond at the time, so we did an interview and they found it. So they will share their contacts. They'll also use platforms like ours to come and find the expert. So it's really important you position yourself as the expert and don't worry about contacting people because, as you can see, they need to speak to new sources all of the time. We said, can business owners send you their expert profiles and stories, ideas for you to keep on file, and if so, where to? Now, this is kind of reflective on most media outlets. Happy to receive submissions on email, but we don't want to be bombarded. Prefer people only contact me if they have an expert on a particular news story. It's annoying to get loads of PR sending you companies just because they're interesting. 99% of the time, not interesting at all. They just want a free ad. Now, you know, you will have heard me talking about how your job is to be the great source of information, and how it's all about an emotional connection and not logical, such as advertising. So you've got to make sure your story does match and it's emotional and you can help them, but you're not just positioning yourself for a free ad. So you want to get focused on what are you an expert in. Make sure you update your profile on the Media Matchmaker platform. Watch the video to show you to do it so that you shine out. Now, with Media Matchmaker, the higher your media pass, the higher you'll come up in the search results. So if the journalist looking for a beauty expert and you're high up, your profile will pop up. If, let's say, they're also looking for a beauty expert in your area, your profile will pop up. So make sure you put your Google Maps of your postcode of where you are. It can just be the region. It doesn't have to be specific of where you are. So the regional media outlets can contact you. So do as much as you can to make sure your profile is shining as bright as possible so we can connect you to those PR opportunities. Can't wait to see how you go. See you next time.